Hello to everybody. Today is a very, very special day for me. In fact, it might be the most special day of all time for me. It's the 2nd of the 2nd, 2022. And for those of you that know me, you will be well aware that my favorite number is 2222, 2222. There's a bit of a story behind this. Back when I was at high school, many years ago, I went on a school trip, and on the way back, we drove past. We were on a train. We went through the train station, and as we got off the train, we saw the sign, the clock, the big yellow clocks that you get in English train stations, and it was at about 22:21, and we waited and waited and waited for the last minute, and then we got a great photo on an old school camera of it all 22:22 with 22 seconds as well. So that was rather marvelous, and since then it's just a number that seems to have followed me and my two best friends around the entire planet, basically. So it's something I even connect with my good friends about, and we send messages to each other. It has just become time now, but that is something that is super special. So today I've been absolutely buzzing all day because it is a bit special to me today, 2222. And something great about that is I do have a very special guest who is going to call in ever so shortly. I've got her queued up, ready to go live on the TV as well, of course. She's about to call in live to the Podbean. I believe I can see her in there, but sometimes on Podbean they give you a bit of a funny name, and I think her name might be QFCEUJ. It is her there. I'm gonna invite her in as a guest. That is her. I couldn't tell if Lorraine was QFCEUJZJ. A fantastic name if she were a Scrabble word, that's for sure. So I'm going to invite her in as a speaker and give her a very brief introduction, as she will be introducing herself as well. It is Lorraine from Intrepid English. She's here to join us, and I'm going to hand over to her to introduce herself a little bit deeper than that. Lorraine, hello, how are you?
Hi, Harry. I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for inviting me on today. Yes, to introduce myself, I am the founder of Intrepid English. For those of you who are watching, there's the sign behind me. And yeah, we are an English language school based online, and we empower English learners to speak with confidence, ace their exams, succeed at work, and improve the quality of their lives. So that's our little school. But yeah, it's a bit of a controversial one, Harry, because I'm actually a fan of 1111. So we're in different camps here. I'm afraid I don't have the same feeling for 2222, but I'm here to celebrate with you today.
Oof. I'm not going to say that doesn't hurt. It definitely hurts. That one, it cuts through, it cuts deep. Now, I'll be honest, I don't dislike 1111. I just like 2222 more.
Twice
in fact,
as much.
I like it so much that everyone watching can, if I put it a bit closer there.
Oh, wow.
I can't angle my body properly for that. I haven't been doing enough yoga this week. I do have a tattoo of it, as does my best friend Tommy, who was a guest a little while back, actually. He's a music guy. I was going to say teacher, but he's not. He's more like Jack Black in School of Rock. Just a little bit more handsome. Nothing against Jack Black. I think he's brilliant. So you mentioned Intrepid English. I feel a bit like an Intrepid English teacher, not working for Intrepid English. I just feel like I am Intrepid and I'm an English teacher. I think it's a fantastic name, by the way. I remember seeing it a while back, probably on LinkedIn, and just being like, that's a brilliant name. I just kind of like zoomed in on it. I honed in on it. And from then I've been following. Hi there, Bhavna. Lovely to see you. Bhavna is also a previous guest. Lovely to see you again. Yeah, I saw it and I honed in on it. And I think LinkedIn is like my do I want to call it it's my favorite social network.
Oh yeah. Oh
It's
yeah.
great. And I think from that moment, I saw you and I followed you there as well in a completely non-creepy professional way.
You keep saying that, Harry, but the more you say it, the creepier it sounds.
It does sound creepier, doesn't it? I'm gonna just stop saying it now.
Just stop saying the creepy thing.
Yeah, stop saying that creepy thing.
You
Harry.
don't come across as creepy until you mention it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna stop. I'm giving up on saying that from now on. I'm just gonna go with I saw you on LinkedIn.
There we go. Yeah.
And yeah, I saw what Intrepid English does, and I really like the whole idea behind it and the ethos behind it. But before we get into that ethos, I want to know about you.
Me.
You. So, everybody's heard about my journey as a teacher. What about your journey as a teacher?
Well, I started teaching in Germany. Mainly because it was actually one of the few options that was available to me, considering my German wasn't great when I first moved there. So I took my CELTA course in Hamburg, and then I started to enjoy it only after that. So I kind of accidentally fell into it as a career, but quite soon really started to enjoy myself. So I was working in Germany for 3 years in Cologne, and decided that if my career were to progress at all, I'd need to be back home in the UK, really set up my own business, and build a business, basically, not just teach by myself. So I moved back to the UK, and my lovely parents set me up in their spare room. And I love this story, and my dad always reminds me of this as well. But they made me a desk out of 2 bedside drawers and a door, like an old door. Like, it was really old school. So my internet strength was like 2 as well. So it was really weak. I had 1 student for a month or so, and then it started to pick up a little bit more. And that was in 2013. So things have come a long way since then. And Intrepid English has grown, not just in terms of the students, but also the teachers that work for us. And yeah, we've got a lovely team of teachers who work for us now. And it's my job has evolved a lot in that time, from just being the only teacher to being sort of like a mother hen to all my teachers that work for me. But it's just a generally really enjoyable place for us to enjoy day to day. But also our students say that they really enjoy the atmosphere, because it's a bit like a family in a way. I know that sounds really cheesy, but it kind of is. So yeah, that's my journey in a nutshell.
Oh wow. I like how you went to Hamburg and Cologne, so you've gone to the 2 places that have got things named after them. Hamburgers and obviously, perfume.
Easy to remember.
Yeah, and how's your German now?
Oh, that's one of my teachers. He's just tuned in. It's Thomas. Hi, Thomas.
He likes poetry, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. And he doesn't just like it. He is a poet. I could just talk about Tom all day long. He has the best voice in the world, for a start. He's a wonderful teacher. And Tom actually trained me on live events. He's a seasoned professional when it comes to live events because of all his writing and poetry and stuff. So it's really nice to have him here, just hovering in the background. Thanks, Tom.
He also has an exceptional beard. Now, I'm not going to rant and rave too much about exceptional beards, but people with exceptional beards tend to be exceptional people. That's just a personal opinion. I don't know where that opinion came from, but it definitely came from somewhere. No, I saw today he mentioned something about poetry. I actually had a guest a little while back, Dave Bowden, the word guerrilla, or word guerrilla, as we would say it in English. And he's also a poet. So I should speak to Thomas as well, I guess.
You definitely should.
Also, if he's got a lovely voice, perfect for radio.
Get him on the show, Harry. He's great. He's so chilled as well. I tell you what, though, his rule for live events, and unfortunately I haven't followed this rule today, so fingers crossed it goes well, is to have a glass of wine. So it's actually only 4 o'clock in the afternoon where I am. So I don't have a glass of wine, I have a coffee. So that's going to keep me going for now. But it really, very nice, on brand.
There you go.
It's I have to remember that we're actually on the radio as well as on the TV, and people can't actually see everything as well. So if you're listening on the radio, you should definitely tune in and see us on the TV.
Yeah, I actually have a glass of water as well, to be honest. I'm afraid, much to the disgust of my parents, I don't drink, which also surprises everybody in Spain. They look at you, do you want a beer, Harry? And it's like, no, I don't drink. But you're English. Yes, and that's why not all stereotypes work. But yeah, my parents were big wine lovers growing up. So my way of rebelling against them was for me to say, I don't drink wine. I'm not going anywhere near it. So
that reverse psychology really worked there. Harry's parents are like, I hate wine, but hopefully this is going to work.
Yeah, it didn't work on my brother or sister, I'm afraid. But yeah, it definitely worked on me. I was never a big fan of drinking. So sorry to disappoint you, Mum and Dad. But I'm on the radio now. So they're proud at last. It's only taken 37 years. I love your story about the desk, moving into your folks' spare room and building the desk. It reminds me of when I went out to live in Australia for a year while I was on my world tour stage of being a teacher before it became a career. And my brother built me a bed out of milk crates and a mattress that he found in the street, which at the time was really grimy, but looking back on it with my environmentalist hat on, I was like, well, that's good that I slept on. Recycling somebody's old thrown away mattress. I mean, yes, sure, that's definitely fine.
And it's a nice way to, even at the time when I was starting out with this makeshift desk that my parents made me, at the time I did have like a realization, or even just kind of a wish or a hope, that this would be the story that I look back on in years and talk about, the rags in the rags to riches story, kind of thing. It wasn't even rags. It was like a really nice spare bedroom in a lovely house, in the south of England, but still I was like, yes, one day I'll use this story in my book.
There you go.
So I think you're the same with your crate bed, right?
Yeah, it brought it back, actually. I haven't told that story for a while. I'm not sure if it's the scarring that happened from it, but anyway, it's it was definitely interesting. So you were in the south of England, but you're not anymore, are you?
No, now I'm in Edinburgh.
What made you move?
I actually lived here years ago, and it was like right at the start of my sort of traveling phase, and I fell in love with the place. But it was a very different place for me then. There were loads of great music venues. The festival came every year. Obviously, everywhere's changed a little bit because of the pandemic, or a lot. But Edinburgh now is a very different place. So for me, in the way that I approach it, it's much more about, seeing the nature around, and, architecture and that kind of stuff, and literature and things, because it's a UNESCO city of literature. But yeah, I was here years and years ago, and I thought, this is really great, but this is one of the first places I've lived. Like, I need to go out and see the world. This can't just be it. So I carried on traveling around. But when I was living here before, my sisters came up to visit me, and my older sister stayed here, and she's been here ever since then. So just about a few years ago, when my older sister was about to have my niece, I was like, now's the time. This is a sign. I'm going to go back. It's my spiritual home. And yeah, I'm really, really glad I did. But I'm glad I got all of that traveling out of my system before I came back here. So yeah.
Definitely. I feel that it really helped me sort of traveling around to when it came to settling down. It was easy enough, because I'd seen some things, and it was like, oh, yeah, I can stop now. I was forced to stop. I didn't really want to stop, but that's a whole different story that I'm sure we'll get into another day. But yeah, then when I stopped, I was like, well, I have seen stuff, so I guess it's okay. And Edinburgh I love Edinburgh. I think it's beautiful. And it was the source of one of my very early pronunciation things, because obviously you don't say 90% of English, Scottish, British, Welsh, Irish places the way they're written.
Oh no.
So one of my early obsessions back when I was studying for the Delta in 2013. So back when you had your door desk.
Door desk. Mm-hmm.
There you go.
It's a new word.
There you go. I've invented that one. Nice bit of alliteration. Yeah, so I was studying pronunciation, and I got a bit obsessed by pronunciation, but I got really angry with the other people on the course who got, so obsessed with like TEFL talk. When people just, TEFL people have to use all the TEFL words. So I'm going to use all the words. This is how I'm going to teach it. And, they were like, oh, I had a class today, and like they just didn't get it when I was talking about elision. And it's like, well, I don't really get elision. When you talk about how things go together, or connected speech, even like, when you make it a bit like break it down a bit. So I got really upset by all that kind of TEFL talk to do with pronunciation. Hello, Vanessa. Brilliant. She's amazing.
Awesome.
She's one of my marigolds, as is Bavna, actually, who was on before.
Oh, cool. You got a great crowd here today then, Harry. Hi, Vanessa.
An excellent crowd. I did a storytelling in Rome in her academy the other day, actually, the Gruffalo's child. But there you go. If you ever want storytellings, you know where to call. Thomas is probably better than me.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I remember I got really into pronunciation, but I wanted to break it down and make it like real, and not just all TEFL talk and phonemic script and stuff like that. And Edinburgh was actually my inspiration, because obviously you don't say Edinburgh the way you write Edinburgh. And it kind of led me down this rabbit hole of pronunciation of British town names. And yeah, I created this whole thing.
There are some great town names.
Oh,
great town names, especially up here in Scotland. I can't pronounce them really. It's up there with French for the number of silent letters. It's like, what?
Yeah.
And you hear someone say it, and it's like, I had to have no idea just to read it.
Exactly. And I remember we went back to the UK once, with my wife. I think we had our daughter then, but we were going to Bristol, where my sister used to live, and we took a wrong turning. And my wife, who is Spanish but she grew up in Australia, she said, "You need to take the Gloucester Road," and I just fell about laughing. I was like, Gloucester, it's Gloucester, obviously.
Oh, Harry.
Which was awful of me. I shouldn't have done that. I don't think I'd do it again, because not long afterwards we went on holiday to Norfolk, to a place called Snetsham. But the whole time I was like, yeah, we're going to Snettisham. We're going to Snettisham, we're going there. And we got there, and some guy, we were on a tractor ride around the farm, and he's like, "Welcome to Snetsham." And my wife just looked at me and was like, it's not Snettisham. I was like, I guess I deserve that. Yeah,
touche.
Yeah. That was a year in the making, but I definitely deserved it. So, she got me, which was fair enough. Fair play to her. So yeah, pronunciation was something I got really obsessed with, and Edinburgh was my calling for it. But yeah, I find it a very important thing, but something that students really obsess about. I don't think students often realize the difference between pronunciation and accent. Do you have that issue with any of your learners?
Well, in my opinion, there isn't. You see, a lot of English learners, understandably, they think that received pronunciation is the goal, and this is what they want to achieve. But in my opinion, there are so many different accents that are beautiful, and the variety is always the spice of life, in my opinion. But with pronunciation, my approach is to, we got a lot of hearts on the screen from that one. From you. Thanks. I always like to break down British English into the individual phonemic symbols. Okay, not that I teach the phonemic symbols necessarily, I don't think that's necessary, but I always try to break it down into the individual sounds so that students can really get a sense of things like voiced and unvoiced sounds and longer and shorter vowel sounds, things like that. Only because quite often, if, for example, I'll take a lesson that I had yesterday, a student was trying to say reviews, and he said refuse, which is very similar, but obviously it's a different word. So trying to explain to him, yeah, he's a German guy as well, so the V and the W always quite a sticky point for him. So what we did is we went right back to the individual sounds, the difference between F and V, and once we really broke that down and focused on those two areas, he was much more able to hear the difference, and then he could create the difference in his speech. But I always say, you know, this is one of many, mine is one of many accents, and it's kind of a hybrid. Like, people can't normally place me, but I was born in Coventry, but over the years through travel, my accents got a little bit of a hybrid kind of, I don't really know what it is anymore. And, you know, when I'm teaching lower level students, I'll really slow down and I'll really try to, you know, as they say, my Queen's voice. My friends who've heard me teach and my partner, they call it my Queen's voice. But it's just because it's easier for them to understand. But I do believe that there are many beautiful accents in the British Isles alone. And when students can learn sort of a general pronunciation rule, which really helps them, from there they have the creativity to apply their own personality to the words a little bit more. But yeah, I think that opinion comes from the fact that, you know, when I grew up in Coventry, I had a really thick Coventry accent, and it's quite easy to tease people with that accent. You know, it's not quite Birmingham in terms of bad reputation necessarily for accents, but I would get a lot of teasing for it. So whenever I moved to a different place, I would sort of absorb and you know, adopt the accent there, which is why my voice is now quite hybrid. But that, apparently, according to one of my uni tutors, it's a survival mechanism in a way. You need to assimilate to a place, you need to fit in. So that's why I do that now. But I want to show my students, you know, speak in a way that expresses who you are. If that's very melodic, great. You know, if that's slower, that's fine. If it's faster, make sure it's articulate, make sure you enunciate clearly. But I never say this is the correct way and everything else is wrong. You know, that's just my approach.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, that whole, for me, you know, getting them to, you know, enunciate properly and, you know, use whatever rhythm they like to use, I find it super important. But yeah, I've had so many students come to me saying, you know, I want to sound English, I want to sound American, you know, and I say to them, you don't need to. You know, it's actually much better for you to have your Spanish accent when you're speaking English, because it shows that you've made that effort. You know, I definitely don't sound Spanish when I'm speaking in Spanish. Like, don't get me wrong, I speak Spanish fairly well. Yeah, I do all right, but I've got a foreigner's accent when I speak Spanish. But I like that because, you know, it shows who I am, it shows where I'm from, and it shows that I've made that effort to make a difference and to try and speak with a, you know, a different language. And I think, you know, some people often kind of forget that, and they get lost in this whole I want to sound English. Like, don't need to sound English, you need to be intelligible.
But that's the thing, it's the disconnect between desires and needs there. When I have a student who, they normally start the conversation like that, you know, hi Lorraine, I see you're an English teacher, I want to sound like a native speaker, or I want to be fluent. And there are a couple of things that I will recommend to these students. Firstly, it's really difficult to know when you've achieved those goals, right? They're not specific enough for you to be able to go, yeah, tick, I've done that. So, and secondly, because they're quite lofty goals normally from where the student's at that time, they feel frustrated up until the point at which they have, in their view, achieved this point, which they never will reach it because it's so vague. So what I say to them is, firstly, what do you really need to get out of it? So they say they want to speak like a native speaker, but what they need often would be something like, I need to be understood, or I want to be taken seriously at work, or I want to get a band 9 in the IELTS exam. When you break it down like that, it's much more specific. And then you can set SMART goals. So I don't know if you're a fan of SMART goals, but for those who are listening or watching who don't necessarily know what those are, they stand for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely. So whenever a student or a friend of mine or even me, when we're setting goals now, I always try and follow that framework. Specific being, when you have actually achieved it, measurable. I mean, you can look at that from two different points of view, the end goal, sure. Or do you know if you're going in the right direction there, if it's measurable? Am I halfway there yet? Achievable, it's got to be something that you can achieve, right? A goal which is too lofty doesn't help anyone. And yeah, where are we? SMAR, relevant. So it's got to be something in the general direction of where you want to go. So having a goal to improve your German, for example, won't help you if your end goal is to get a 9 in the IELTS exam. And timely, you need a deadline, right? And in my opinion, the smaller the goals, the better. So this is one of the reasons why I'm not really one of those people who sets New Year's resolutions, because I'm setting monthly resolutions instead, or weekly ones, mainly because it's just more satisfying. Who wants to get to the end of the year and be like, oh. It's like, I want that payday every month. I want that feeling of satisfaction every month when I'm like, yes, I've done that thing. But quite often it's, oh, I didn't quite make it. I'm going to adjust next month's goals to line up with that.
Oh, I know that feeling. I have like short, medium, and long-term goals as well. My short-term goals often come along with me, because maybe I haven't done them properly. I want to do that. I kind of want to do that, so I don't. But I like to keep it there on the page with me, so I know that I do still want to do it, but maybe it's not, high up on the list yet. Yeah, exactly. But it's a short goal and I can do it, but yeah, maybe it's not, that high on the list of priorities. So maybe it's not really realistic.
There's also the other factor, which is, it sounds so simple, but it was a really it was an epiphany for me when I realized this. Oh, and sorry if you can see the horrible bruise on my arm, by the way. That's from my roller skating on Sunday, so apologies for that.
I can only see it because you held it right up to the camera.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, that's another story. Yeah, so how many goals do you have which are not really that important to you, but you think you should achieve them? And my wonderful mentor, Alice Thompson, she always says you should stop shoulding all over yourself. I always try to think to myself, do I really want to achieve this goal? Or do I just think I want to achieve this goal? Or do I really want to achieve this goal? Or do I want to be the person that would like to achieve that goal? And then, sometimes I'm like, no. So I'm not going to put pressure on myself to achieve that, if that makes sense.
Move it to one side.
Yes, exactly. But going back to this, the English learners who have these lofty and vague goals, purely because maybe they don't know this SMART goal approach yet. I always like to say to them, do you really want to achieve that goal? Or do you want, the goal of speaking English like a native speaker? Or do you want to speak English but have your personality in there and be able to express yourself clearly and, share your unique opinions and have originality in your work and things like that? And often that will really help them to really define what they want and what they don't really need. Hi,
exactly.
Phil.
Hello, Phil. It's lovely to have you. Lovely to have you watching us for your first time ever. It's my first time doing this ever as well. So it's quite exciting to have you here, and brilliant to have lots of other people here listening in as well. We've got Libby and Dorian, we've got Nicholas, we've got EJ We've got some people there that I'm not really sure who they are, but yeah, thanks everybody who's tuned in. And do hang about. We're gonna listen to the news now, and we'll be back very shortly. So stay where you are, stay seated, keep your headphones in. We'll be back very shortly, but we're gonna head off for the news.